Right, good evening and welcome. Today's workshop, we're focusing on stress, dealing with stress and anything that is stress related, and also explaining a little bit from a scientific point of view, but I promise it's a simple science. But I believe it's very important to understand where stress stems from, how it kind of represents itself and what it does in our bodies and brain, how it affects our well-being. But this is probably more obvious, but also how it affects our physical health, not just mental. So let's dive in. As always, housekeeping. So keep your mics up on mute for the moment. If you need to use a Zoom chat, can someone just type in one for me to see that I can receive messages all right? I got it. Cool. So it's working. Cameras on if you can, and if you're brave. And top tip, make notes, participate, because there will be some tasks. If you participate today, it's going to be easier and more natural to do it anytime stress hits, because there is two types of stress that we have to differentiate. There is a chronic stress that lasts, that is the one that is unhealthy, and there is a stress as a response to a stressful situation that is rather unavoidable, especially in today's society, but it's always been there as a response to any threats. In the modern world, the threats are not as they used to be in the past, but our physiology hasn't changed, and it responds exactly the same way when we used to live in jungles and fight with tigers as it does now, after receiving a nasty email, for example, from a boss or a colleague. So firstly, I want you to check in and type in, it doesn't need to be one word, it could be anything, because we see stress very differently. And I want to see how stress shows up for you. What do you feel, or what word comes to mind when you think stress? It could be a trigger for you. It could be a feeling, an emotion, a situation. I just want to see how you see stress and what word describes stress best for you. I can share mine. For me, stress is overwhelm and panic. That's stress, and kind of being incapable of doing something that I thought I can do. So that's how I see it. It's more than one word. Is this similar for you, or is anything else coming to your mind? Because there is a lot that we can talk about referring to stress. Anyone wants to share? Type in. Oh, is it similar to mine? Something beyond your control, so just overthinking. Okay, that's actually probably touching upon two different layers. So something beyond your control is stressful. And it's interesting actually to dive in to think, if it's beyond our control, why does it stress us, right? So it shouldn't stress us because it's beyond the control. So a situation is pretty straightforward, but nonetheless, it still causes stress. And then overthinking, I get you, because constant overthinking keeps the brain wired and it causes stress. Pat, you wrote panic, overwhelm, so quite similar to me. There is no right or wrong, by the way. I just wanted to see how you perceive stress and how it shows up. So before I dive into a bit of simple science, firstly, you need to know that stress is not in your head. It isn't just a feeling. It's a brain-body chain reaction. It is all stemming from our amazing machine called brain and neurotransmitters and chemicals, and most likely chemical imbalance. So it's not you. It's not that you're crazy, that you're over dramatic, but it is real and things are really happening in your brain. It's the chemistry, it's the hormones, and it's the nervous system overload. So it is okay. Well, it's not okay from a from the kind of well-being standpoint, but it is valid if you feel stress. Different triggers and people react differently to different situations. It will all depend on how you used to handling difficult situations and how quickly you can snap out of that hormonal chemical and nervous system imbalance. So remember, that's why the slide is in color. It's not in your head, it's your chemicals in the brain. So what stress does in your brain, and that's the simple science reference. So it stems to the times when we were hunter-gatherers, when we would have to be informed by the brain about the threat. At the moment, that threat might show up as feeling too much of something. The real threats that we talk about from past years is fighting for survival, fighting for territories, fighting with wild animals, other tribes, and literally fighting for food. And the risk of starvation. And in the modern world that at least we live in, I know that there are some parts of the world that still do that and still are hunters-gatherers, but not here, not in the UK, not in Europe. So what happens? So that threat or the signal comes through our internal alarm system that is activated by hypothalamus. It activates the amygdala, which is in our brain. It's an area in our brain that raises the alarm rings, like something is a threat. Your brain doesn't differentiate if it's a tiger attack or if it's a deadline from the boss or if your kid has a deadline to pass an exam or something else. It just shoots adrenaline in the brain and cortisol through your body. And then your body literally switches to fight or flight or freeze. And your brain treats every single thing as danger. Like I say, emails, kids, food decisions. Oh no, I haven't hit my macros. Maybe this could also trigger your fight or flight or your freeze, especially at the beginning of the journey where macros are quite a challenge. Workouts could be causing you this. My feedback, maybe also the way we communicate, and maybe you've never been accountable to someone, can cause a fight or flight. So this is all valid and it has its place. It will again depend on the person and how you're used to dealing with stress and similar situations. So this response obviously in the past was meant to last seconds, 2 minutes, maybe a few hours, but in the modern world, we develop chronic stress because we constantly triggered by things and we are kind of not taught, even though we are aware chronic stress is bad, no one teaches us and no one pays attention that much to stress rather than filling in the tasks and hitting the targets. So for most people in the modern world, it is a constant low level, sometimes even high level fight or flight. And this is becoming a problem if it's constantly living on that fight or flight and sometimes also freeze. So it might show up as you feeling broken. But again, I want to tell you, you are not broken. Your nervous system is overloaded. It's not you. It's not you as a person. There's nothing wrong with you. It's your nervous system that doesn't know how to deal with situations, doesn't know how to disperse, doesn't know how to de-stress in a quick form and in a long-term reset. So how it can, what it can lead to is overthinking everything. Everything becomes really hard, really a problem. You think of 5 different solutions and you take none. You might also feel like you have low motivation for anything, and this will probably directly stem from overthinking. You could respond to stress through emotional eating. I don't know what to do. I'll go for food because it gives me a quick release of dopamine and gives me pleasure. It doesn't solve the deeper problem, but for the moment of the higher stress, when you're really ready to explode, maybe that's a solution. Cravings, like the mindless snacking, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking when you've been deprived for months of something and you're dreaming about the pizza, for example, being in a deficit and not allowing yourself any intentional cheat meals, but those mindless cravings, that's what I mean. Low patience, irritability. It's also a sign of stress. It's not that you're a choleric. It's not that you're a psycho, unless you are, but I don't see that in the program. So if you feel like you're have low patience, it might be a sign of being stressed. All or nothing mentality, that is also a coping mechanism. Procrastination as well. That again goes back probably to overthinking. Perfectionism pressure, that puts you in the constant fight or flight. Like if it's not good, it's not worth doing it. But then it puts pressure to be the best, to be always top notch. It's not a good thing. I speak to many potential clients, but also people in this program saying and being quite proud of this perfectionism approach. It is nothing to be proud of. It puts you under constant stress, and it actually can make you freeze and prevent you from taking action if it's not 100%. And we know that what matters more is consistency than perfection. Then feeling behind, and that again could be a result from perfectionism, not taking action, delaying, procrastinating, feeling guilty for resting. That is also not a great thing if you can't rest, and taking a day off when your body tells you, when your brain tells you, when something happened that you really need to switch off. If it makes you feel guilty, it's not a good sign. It means that you're under constant stress and you constantly demand things from yourself rather than just be. And I must admit, I'm kind of still fighting, not fighting, but dealing with it. Like it's a big thing for me, taking rest. I know that progress can't be undone in taking rest, and it's absolutely necessary, but the brain is wired in a certain way. It can also cause decision fatigue. You literally don't know what to do, even though you have 5 really good options, but you go for none. And it decreases your cognitive function, your productivity. All things considered, they will decrease your productivity. It might show in the results in the gym, at work, in relationships, because maybe you're not present, maybe you don't remember things. It could even impact your memory. So this is not, if you feel any of these, you're not broken. One more time. It is not you, it's your nervous system that is overloaded. And from this point, it's wise to tell you what you might feel on the physical level, because on the psychological level, we probably experience to a smaller or bigger extent all of these, like what chronic stress can lead to. If you feel like you've been living in this for years or months, we could probably classify it already as chronic stress. And it's something to look at as the first thing in your journey. We talk about it in one-to-one check-ins, but just raising the awareness. But your stress can also represent itself in the bodily functions and how you function. So let's play yes or no. If you're able to type in, and we're talking now, because probably all of that we've experienced at some point. Tell me yes or no at the current moment. Bloating, does anyone experience that on a regular basis without eating? We're talking quite nutritious whole food diet. If you feel, it obviously can stem from other reasons, there might be other reasons for bloating, but if you answer like a few of those and they are constant, it might be your sign. So okay, yes. For me, yes. Water retention, so you feel puffy, you feel like heavy. Sometimes you will feel your fingers and toes get a little bit bigger and swollen. That could be a sign. Belly fat, especially for women, gathered, like you're pretty lean everywhere else, but your belly looks like it's maybe, I don't know, especially the lower abdomen area. And it's yeah, if it's just your fat is gathering over that, maybe it's also a sign. And again, we have to look deeper. It's not set in stone. It's not one answer for sure, but I'm enumerating these just for you to pay attention. Constipation, diarrhea, even though your food is pretty solid, you have fiber, you drink enough water, maybe if you experience that for no reason, it could be stress manifesting. Headaches, poor sleep, fatigue, slower recovery. So you eat well, you have your deload weeks, you slow down, you had breaks, you come back to the gym, it's not happening. You still feel like it's heavy, you're heavy, super sore, you're dragging your feet to go for another session. that sounds like slow recovery, fatigue, headaches, poor sleep. All of those symptoms could obviously, like I'm saying, I just want to make you aware, refer and go to other reasons. But if other kind of parameters are in check, like you drink enough water, you have the nutritious food, there's a fiber, you feel like you're not stressed, maybe it's worth considering that you actually are under stress and you don't even realize. So it would be worth addressing what causes you stress, because most people feel like stress is invisible. But this is just a proof that stress is not invisible. It shows in the body and in the mind. So going back to this is your mind representation, the emotional eating, the perfectionism pressure, the feeling behind, etc. And this is your physical representation. Stress is not invisible. You may be choosing not to see it, you might ignore it, and you might feel cool because there are moments that distress you in your life, but maybe chronically you're under stress. Your body keeps the score and it shows in different ways. So worth sometimes zooming out. Fitness reality check, how you can tell from a fitness perspective, because we're in a fitness program, that maybe we should be tackling stress, because people go very straightforward path. Okay, give me the macros, give me the workouts, how many steps should I do, how much water should I drink, even if that, because sometimes people forget water is also important. But if that was that easy, my job probably wouldn't exist in the current age with ChatGPT and whatever resources we've got. It's deeper. Our transformations are deeper on the neuroscientific level, on the mindset level. And so if you've ever felt like you've eaten well, you've followed your macros, you've drank enough water, you've worked out with the right exertion and progressed your lifts, and it's been happening constantly, week in and week out, you still saw no results, maybe it's worth addressing stress. I'm not being dramatic, about addressing that, but there is even a special question about how stressed you were past week, and sometimes it's just easy to skip certain reasons or symptoms of stress because maybe you had a good week, but it doesn't mean that you weren't under stress. So I'm not, again, scaring anyone and threatening with stress, but it's such an important factor, and we will go in a second into our neuroscientific proof of how important and what it can lead to if unnoticed, untreated, and ignored, basically, that it probably should be the first thing to address. Obviously, there could be a vicious cycle caused by lack of sleep, and then irritability, and then stress caused. It's like, it's not that stress is a starting point. Something else could be a starting point, and it just loops and closes, and it feels hard to notice. But that's why I believe this workshop is so important for you, at least to realize that you could be under stress and your macros and other things might not be enough for the results, but also for a calm, peaceful, harmonious well-being. So stress and fitness, just a few words, because we probably talk about it on one-to-one level. Weight blocks weight loss. Most of my clients enter for weight loss. The goals shift while their results get better. But basically, when our stress is high, you know that hypothalamus is shooting adrenaline and cortisol. And cortisol, these are two hormones that are responsible for stress, for that fight or flight or freeze response. So when cortisol stays high in the body, your body holds fat for survival, because again, it doesn't differentiate what sort of threat is coming. Is it threat of starvation? Is it a threat of being killed? But still, you need some level of fat to survive, to keep the bodily functions. And fat transfers micro elements. So we need a layer of fat. We don't need muscle that much, we need fat in the most layman's terms for our body. Fat is a priority compared to muscle. That's why it's so hard to get that lean, strong physique without addressing that. Hunger hormones increase because we spend more energy on keeping that brain wired. So we are more hungry, just basically because we spend more energy about worrying, about being cautious and alert. You'll crave quick energy foods for that very reason, because your hunger is bigger. Your digestion slows, and that can cause that bloating because you're constantly wired. You give yourself quick fix foods. Your hunger is up, but the energy is not, by the way, used in the way that you provide it. So you end up overeating. Your sleep worsens, and therefore you have more cravings because your hormones, your satiety and your hunger hormones, leptin, ghrelin, are off sync. So if your hunger is higher, then your satiety is lower, and that becomes imbalanced, and that leads to more cravings. But also the sleep deprivation will lead to energy tanking, and again, more cravings. Let's make up for that energy that wasn't replenished during sleep. Your muscles recover slower. Your cardio raises cortisol even more. That's for my cardio bunnies that think, okay, the only solution is do more cardio, do more, but maybe it's time to do less sometimes and eat more, actually, so that it all gets back into balance. I know how counterintuitive it may sound at the beginning, but I hope you get me now that eating less is not an option and doing more cardio, because you put your body under even more stress. That's why we do diet breaks, refeeds, and it manifests nicely in the plateaus, especially in weight loss journeys. It's normal, it's unavoidable, because your body is under stress. If it's in a calorie deficit, it's under stress. Too long of that, and you have all those symptoms. And then obviously your scale will increase from water retention, and that bloating again, etc. So you're feeling like you're doing all the right things, you're hitting all the marks, all the boxes, then beating yourself about it. And then on the psychological level, you add to that stress. So sometimes less restriction, or very often less restriction, is better. And you just need to regulate your stress system, your nervous system. How it works through our beautiful 4 neurotransmitters that are responsible for our feeling happy, feeling good mood, and they are dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. So we're going to start with dopamine and serotonin. But before I dive into that, what feelings they respond to, or what feelings are responsible for the presence of those neurotransmitters, I want to make sure that you understand. If you are not broken, if you're under stress, if it's your nervous system being unregulated, you're also not your emotions. Your emotions are literally chemicals. And that is why it's so important to detach from whatever you're feeling, whether you're sad, you're happy, you're tired probably is the result of other things, but like feelings that you can very often, people very often associate themselves with, like you're angry, you're longing, you're missing something, someone. These are not you. That's emotions that are literally chemicals. And I know it doesn't sound sexy, and it strips us down to literally flesh and chemicals in our brain, but more or less it's about this. And the way we are capable to capture our responses and understand that we are not emotions, but we can actually change what we feel and how we act based on that knowledge and understanding of neuroscience is key. It's key to calm and harmonious living. I know it's easier said than done, but the more you hear about it, because I'm sure those neurotransmitters are not novelty to you, and you know that our thoughts are important, and guide how we feel and they shape the life we live, but how the hell does it work in reality? This is how it works. So remember, you're not your emotions, whatever you feel, even the biggest spiritualists, psychiatrists, and psychologists talk about extreme cases, someone's death, split up, some major disaster, I don't know, war, losing money, an accident. Everyone from the biggest neuroscientists, etc., talks about things being absolutely neutral, and it's us that give situations and certain events the importance through our thoughts and through our chemical responses. I'm not questioning anyone's emotions in any of those traumatic experiences, but when you think about it, zoom out, and you feel like some people can control better, it's through this detaching from emotions and kind of keeping this homeostasis of the chemicals. So dopamine, what is it? It's a good, like now we're talking about the 4 feel good, positive neurotransmitters that we want to have plenty of and in abundance in our life. Dopamine, it's responsible for motivation. It kicks in and manifests itself through you having a drive, like feeling like, yes, I'm on the good wave now, I'm riding that, I'm feeling great. It is triggered by rewards, by accomplishing tasks. So that's why I'm putting this, you can do it. It's kind of, yeah, it's, to me, that's how it feels. Like if your dopamine is high, you feel like, yeah, I can do it. And that's when people start their fitness journeys. Like they believe they can do it, they are motivated, but that dopamine doesn't live forever. And that's when you can have a drop and feel no motivation, no spark, and no follow through. It's created through planning and like giving yourself a promise. But then when the time actually to deliver comes, that dopamine doesn't live anymore because it thrives on that motivation. But in order to maintain it, you have to go through certain tasks to then be rewarded. But then there's like this gap between the excitement before taking a task, doing a task that is probably not as exciting on its own as it sounds, and then the reward. And this bit of doing that task is what leads people to downfalls. They are impatient to get that reward without that boring bit. And that's when dopamine can be dysregulated. Then we have serotonin, which is responsible for that feeling of peace and calm, being confident, stable emotionally, like in harmony. And that lack of it or shortage of it can manifest in constant agitation, like being anxious, being worried about things, but it can also be triggered, like reduced by those feelings. So it works both ways, right? Like if you feel this, you lack that. But at the same time, you might have high dopamine, but then you will start feeling like, oh my God, that task is so hard. You will reduce that dopamine. The same with serotonin. You might feel at peace and great, and then you start thinking about some other thing that is maybe not that you had planned well or didn't work out as much as you wanted, and you lower that serotonin. So we're kind of constantly fighting between maintaining them, but also jumping too far forward. So dopamine and serotonin, 2 very important ones, and the remaining 2 neurotransmitters, oxytocin and endorphins. Oxytocin is responsible for human touch, bonding, connection, also physical touch, sexual connection, and feeling, but also feeling supported, having some sort of network. And when it's low, you might feel you're lonely. You actually disconnect with people you don't want to even connect. So that means you're low on that. You might feel emotional overwhelm, especially when you're surrounded by people that are in happy couples or that feel like touchy-feely. You know, you have those people that always like talk to you and they touch you. Their oxytocin is high, but probably also subconsciously they maintain it that way. It doesn't need to be literally physical connection, seeing someone. It could be increased by giving someone a call, someone outside work, okay? Let's put it, it's connected to your close ones, to people that are more important on this emotional level, who understand you and support you. And then endorphins is this natural good mood feeling. It's boosted by physical activity. It also gives you that natural pain relief. That's why when we train, we don't sometimes feel how heavy we train, and then we might be super sore after, but that is that endorphins kicking in while you train. Like your pain threshold or soreness threshold is shifted. So stress suppresses all of these. And if you have been low on any of those feelings, like maybe you felt unmotivated, maybe your mood's dip, maybe you feel a bit worried and irritable, you feel lonely, disconnected, and just like everything is heavy, maybe you're under lots of stress. You're not broken. One more time, it can be changed. And how stress, lastly, that's a quick one, as maybe prevention to do something about it, to take this workshop seriously, how stress turns into physical disease. I believe that physical diseases, autoimmune diseases, in most cases, colds, twists, sprains, can have, or I don't want to say have, but from my knowledge of neuroscience, stem from what's happening here. And that's our way of thinking and believing things, programming ourselves. It's not our fault if we go into certain kind of thinking modes, like we tend to be apathetic, we tend to see everything as doom and gloom. It's not our fault because we've learned it from somewhere, maybe from our childhood, maybe our parents were like this, maybe our ex-partner was always treating us like this and made us believe certain way about ourselves. Maybe we were bullied at school. Something is deeper, but I always say it's our responsibility. It's not our fault, but it's our responsibility to change things. So chronic cortisol, chronic stress, chronic adrenaline leads to immunosuppression, because stress decreases the activity on natural killer cells. And that's how we get those autoimmune diseases. The cells that identify and destroy abnormal or precancerous cells. Also, the body that sees our own cells incorrectly as abnormal, and they are normal. So it's like some sort of deregulation, immunosuppression. It doesn't like directly create cancer and all those horrible diseases, but it just means that our body is unable to catch and eliminate those harmful cells, but not harmful yet enough to develop and activate into something early. So it's very important to be lowering that stress. It's literally anti a disease cure. Chronic inflammation, the stress causes chronic inflammation. It's basically the easiest to think about it. It shuts all the systems because your body can't function and focus on digestion, on secretion, on productivity if it's constantly under stress. So inflammation is like lack of healing. Constantly there's something that is inflamed and the body needs to be healing that inflammation. And that is on its own a lot of stress. So the chronic inflammation damages tissues, increases wear on organs, and kind of contributes to certain diseases. Like I'm mentioning it here: gut disorders, cardiovascular, autoimmune, hormonal imbalances, so your thyroid problems, insulin resistance, and stuff like this, chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety. And it is known as a common contributor to more serious diseases. So I want to swiftly go from there, but this cannot be missed. Like, it is a real thing. Stress causes diseases. So I'm going to actually skip that. Cellular aging as well, like on the level of DNA, it shortens telomeres. Telomeres are parts of our DNA that are responsible for longevity, for our aging, and how fast and how soon and in what way we're going to do it. So again, disrupts the hormones. So I'm going to finish that pretty harsh topic, but nonetheless needed. Like I always say, Sometimes you don't want to hear things, but you need to hear them to take them seriously. I wanted to ask firstly, do you feel any of those those like going back to our 4 neurotransmitters? Like if you feel like you're constantly heavy and everything feels hard, or you're disconnected, you don't need to answer in the chat. Just keep it for yourself, but be honest with yourselves. And if so, accept that it's not you, but it's probably stress. Swiftly going from that point, I want to say that it's all to be changed. That's the good news. We can change it, and we are responsible to change it. So how can we boost those 4 feel-good neurotransmitters? For example, dopamine, like I said, it's small wins, it's checklists, it's mini goals. That's why it's so important to track your journey, whether it's fitness, but also think of relationships. Like maybe you've covered a milestone and you managed to disperse arguments that used to cause big clashes. Maybe you develop some way of communicating, and that's a big win. Maybe, obviously, at work, you have probably, if you're don't run your own business, but you are in someone else's business, you definitely have checklists, like reviews. So think of them, even though they might be stressful, reframe them as for you to be able to see the wins. I don't know the intentions of your bosses, but it should be every checklist, every feedback, every check-in should be treated as such. This is my chance to see where I won, but also to have it clearly, black and white, where I need to take more accountability over and what actually is causing me certain bottlenecks. So dopamine, make sure you checklist. I haven't done this workout in a week. Okay, that's a shit week. Well, maybe focus on doing the 3 others and maybe focus on hitting the PBs. Oh, that weekend was total shit. Okay, maybe 3 other weekends weren't. So create the checklist big enough so you always see a positive. So ticking small wins. Serotonin, the first one is hard in the UK, sunlight. But it does help. That's why we supplement on vitamin D3 and K2, sunlight, balanced meals, walks, breathing, and gut hair. Honestly, it is more meaningful than you think. All those little things, they give you peace. Remember, serotonin is this peace, harmony, and calmness. Like at first, those tasks like getting your meals timings in place, knowing what days you're going to be training, they might feel overwhelming, but they give you peace. Structure and organization give you peace. And you fighting with the structure is probably what causing you anxiety, not the structure itself. I know because I've been there. I've been fighting structures. I've been saying I'm ADHD. I don't like it. I do things when I want. I can cope with 10 different tasks at one time. I can't. I don't finish any of them. Structure, exact time frames, perfect. I'm good. Am I perfect? No, but I'm better and I'm calmer, and that matters. Breathing, we're going to talk about it in a sec. And now the good news, we're going to de-stress now, because if that chat about diseases and consequences stress you, then I will de-stress you now. So who's still here? Who's listening? Who's with me? Can you text type 2? I want to see if you're asleep. Fabulous. All right. Okay. So there is 3 fast stress relief methods. The Dynamic music. There's more, but to be honest, the first one is my favorite. The second one takes a little bit more time, and the third one, people might think you're weird. Maybe not all of them, but yeah, some of the physical resets might look weird. I do them sometimes here in my own space, but maybe not publicly. So box breathing, 4-4-4. What is that? I actually want you to do it, and I'm gonna do it with you. So let's go for it. Where is it? Here. Yeah. So it reduces anxiety, overwhelm, and it's a perfect intro to meditation. This is how you could start your journey into meditation. Sorry, I don't know what I want to say. Reducing the noise in your brain, basically. That's what meditation is. Some people still think it's some woo-woo or magic. It's again neuroscience for you in its finest. So we inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, count calmly in your head, and then you're going to hold that breath for 4 seconds. Feel relaxed, so make sure your shoulders are not shrugged. You relax, you decompress, and you exhale through the mouth for 4 seconds, and you hold for 4 seconds. So I want you to, and you do it 4 times. Today, I want you to do it with me. I'm going to do it with you now live. Eyes don't need to be closed, but it helps because we're visuals and we get easily distracted. And actually, what gets me distracted now is the email that keeps flashing. So you're ready to do it. Sam, I know you're traveling, but that would be actually good, probably on public transport to use 444. So let's go for 4 long seconds, slow. I'm going to count you. I'll try to do it simultaneously, but through the nose. So we go. We go for 4. So take the deep breath, Pat, I'm watching you. Hold. And release for 4 through the mouth. Hold. And breathe normally. I will do it one more time. So you know now how to do it. Maybe it will help if I zip it and you know what to do. I want you to close the eyes and just do it. I'm going to do it right now. So 4, 4, 4. And that's your second attempt. Second of that cycles, you would do it 3, 4. I literally, once I closed my eyes and stopped counting out loud, I got a bit more relaxed. You might not believe it, you might not feel it straight away, especially if you've never tried breathing techniques, but trust me, it helps. It does help in whatever situation. Just remember about it. If you don't believe, just do it anyway. Start doing it. Start doing it in the morning, start doing it in the evening. You can't do it 4 times, do it once, for God's sake. Start doing it just once and see the difference over time. It's like with pain and a painkiller. You take a painkiller, oh, is it working? Is it working? Is it working? And all of a sudden you realize the pain's gone. And you might all of a sudden realize, I'm actually more relaxed overall. It does help, trust me. I was the biggest ticking bomb in the past, like we're talking 10 years back. Now, the grounding one, it takes a little bit more time. For maybe more advanced, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It pulls you out of your head because we're thinkers. We constantly keep that noise in the brain. We talk to ourselves, we analyze, we jump 5 steps ahead when we don't need to. And we're constantly in our heads. The noise doesn't stop, but it puts us into our senses. So 5, it stands for start looking around, watch 5 things. Like, let's do it now. Literally look at around you wherever you are and find 5 things you want to focus on. I've got a lamp, I've got a picture, I've got my water bottle, my mic, and the jumper that is on the floor. That's 5. Then 4 things you can touch. I can touch the mic, I can touch the bottle, I can touch the pen, I can touch the laptop. Great. You're doing it? Great. 3 things you can hear. I can hear my voice, I can hear the drops outside, and I can hear a little buzz on the laptop. What can you hear, Pat?
I can hear rain, cars, and my son in the bathroom.
Cool. And for that moment, you actually were present in the moment when you were looking for sound. Amazing. 2 things you can smell. I can smell my jumper, my top. Actually, it's hard. So I can smell my washing. Don't think I can smell another thing. But even if you can't, you were present and you got out of your head for that moment looking for that smell. And last thing, what you can taste. I can taste my what? Saliva? Don't know. It's like no taste. But let me think. Water? Yeah, water has some taste. And again, that task brought you to your senses. And obviously, we're not under stress. You're not into your head. You're listening to me. I hope it's not too stressful. Maybe apart from the part when we talked about consequences, but you get me. It kind of pulls you away from thinking, and it forces you subconsciously to do things. But it might be hard once you're so wired to actually do that. Breathing, I find much easier. And last thing is the physical reset. Shoulder, it doesn't need to be big. I say jumping jacks, push-ups, or some sort of crunches, but it could be just simple shoulder drop, and do it a few times, especially standing. Like, think of your arms getting really heavy. That's your shoulder drop, especially for those that sit on the laptops all day. Shake release. That one I actually do like. Think of the dogs. Like, sometimes they lie down and they wake up and they shake. That is like to disperse one energy and to enter another. That's literally this. That's natural. They don't need to have those workshops and look. But that shake, like once I stand, again, I am, but like this. Yeah, imagine doing it in the office. But it does work. Because again, it changes your energy. You can shake your leg individually, spinal roll down. So literally this. You just go down, punch, and you go all the way up that way. Don't know if you could see. Chest open stretch with the deep breath in. Hold, and you can use the 4-4-4 with this. Hold, so on and so forth. Neck release, ear to shoulder, especially for the office workers. But don't rush it, because I ask people doing it and they go, like, this is more stressful. Slowly breathe deep, stay there. Allow those top traps releasing. We very rarely stretch that area, and to deepen it, you can even get chin to shoulder. Repeat it a few times. 10 deep belly breaths, like filling up the air in the belly, like making it look like a balloon, and then releasing. But it's again part of the breathing techniques. And march in place, literally march. Dispersing energy. I prefer shaking. So this is how you quickly reset. Then this is a proof that stress is interruptible. It doesn't need to be constant. Even if it feels like the most heated situation, it can be interrupted. So now to the long-term game, long-term reset, daily routines that change everything. I think you're getting the gist now from this whole workshop. And you know that things like lack of sleep, lack of structure, lack of strength training, lack of daily movement, caffeine, high doses, evening unwinding activities, lack of them, can all contribute to high stress. So what do? We create those routines. And again, as much as you may feel, oh my God, another routine, this is stressing me. You are stressing yourself through overthinking those routines. But if your sleep is shit, what do you think is going to be the best solution? To think about how shit is your sleep and to be stressed about it, or actually start acting. As always, everything needs action. It's great to know things, but knowledge and implementation are two different things. So I want you to rate yourselves, and maybe if you could tell me if there's any of these: sleep, strength training, daily walking, caffeine management, evening, just the evening wind down, social boundaries, social media boundaries, morning routine, and stress triggers. Actually, I could reply and remove it, but is any of those below 5 for any of you? Let me know, yes or no. At the moment, they tend to be, they can be, but if they are chronically, we've got a problem. Yes, no. Any of these pillars below 5. 10 being it's all in place. I've got a great sleep. I regularly strength train. I walk daily, etc., etc. 1 is like it's non-existent. It's total shambles, diabolic. Sam, can you unmute or not really?
Yeah, hello.
Lovely. Which one is it? Below 5?
Hang on, I just need to zoom in because I'm walking the dog now. But yeah, sleep hasn't been very good, to be honest.
Okay. Is it quantity or quality?
Both.
Okay. What do you think
Yeah.
is the reason?
Life events.
And what do you mean by
Life
that? I'm
events.
not
Yeah.
asking about details, but
Just no, just like relationships, etc. So
okay.
it's
So wait, I'm gonna,
overthinking, I
because
guess.
I know it's hard to talk, but I want to stop you. I want to show you
Yeah.
something. So, okay, you said live event. So is there literally someone dragging you out of bed? Or is it actually the event,
no,
or is
no,
it how you
no.
actually think about the event?
How I think about it.
Okay,
So
so
yeah, I guess it's like a survival, trying to think of what I should do, etc. like that. So that kind of makes you not sleep because you're kind of overthinking.
okay,
So
have
I
you
guess it
tried
comes to the
journaling
like the
and
survival thing.
have you tried journaling and writing down what the options are?
I've gone through the options in my head, but sometimes it's hard to think of which option to take. So
Yeah.
yes, so yeah, it's just been
Have you
yeah.
tried writing them down?
I haven't tried writing them
Right.
down.
Can you
No.
do it
Yeah.
tonight? Write them
Yeah.
down. And
Yeah.
it's like with the to-do list. Once the
Yeah.
brain knows, it doesn't need to remember about it. It's put on paper, it relaxes a little bit. So put three
Yeah.
options, then don't close it like just like that. I would say pluses and minuses of each. Give yourself a week and put pluses and minuses of each solution. And every day you can add or erase something because your
Yeah.
emotions might change. You might get and come up with new ideas. Does it make sense? And then at the end of
Yeah.
the week,
Sounds
give
good.
yourself a deadline. And at the end of the week, make a decision.
Yeah. That sounds good.
I
That
know
sounds
it's
good.
easy said, but
Yeah.
try and start doing it and see how, if it's black and white, you will see that you're in your head. And we need to get you out of overthinking things because you're like fight or flight, or freeze, decision fatigue that we talked about at the beginning. And that sleep will obviously interrupt other things, your cravings, your energy, your irritability. So it is like if stress is number one thing, then sleep is straight on number two on the list. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unwind routines, how wind down routines, are they good in place for you?
Sorry.
What about the
Yeah.
evening wind down activities?
Wind down activities. Yeah, they're pretty good. They're, I'd say, pretty normal.
Okay.
Like obviously going to the gym, that's kind of a weird wind down, but it still is.
It would fall as a strength training. Evening wind
Yeah.
down is more time for yourself, time without blue light, time without external inputs from the social media, from the news, from programs, just doing things that contribute to a healthy, calm morning and get you off the blue light, because blue light activates certain areas in the brain. And they, again, you wire yourself and cortisol raises without you even overthinking. Do you get me?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
aim at a total hard stop for social media and for blue light TV. Let's start from 30 minutes. And you can use this 30 minutes for whatever you want. Shower, I would say shaving, but yeah, you shave face, we will shave more areas, but it still will take you a
I
bit.
shave more often though, the
Oh
face.
yeah, more often, that's it. Planning for the morning, and stuff
Yeah.
like this. Reading, you can do anything in that 30 minutes, but make sure you don't switch back on to social media. Put the alarm clock, get ready. Make sense?
Yeah, of course. It's always a
Cool.
good idea. So
Cool.
yeah,
Thanks for sharing. It's not easy.
that's all right. No,
Yeah.
it's cool.
And I want to just close it up. We're running to 52. I always do it. First and foremost, if you feel any of those emotions, one, you're not broken. Two, you're not unmotivated. You are just overstressed. If you've noticed emotions that we were talking about on a higher level at the moment, it's probably stress. It's not you, you're not your emotions. Emotions are chemicals. This is probably the most important things that you should take away from this workshop. And I promise you, when you regulate your nervous system, it takes time and practice and goodwill. And even if you don't believe in those techniques that I've just talked about, I hope something clicks, and the more you hear about it, the more at least you will be willing and open to try. Because if overthinking doesn't help, if emotional eating doesn't help and doesn't give you this soothing, calming, long-term result, then maybe it's time to try something else. Because everything gets easier when your nervous system is regulated. And I wish you that, because that to me is real happiness, that peace. Not extreme joy and extreme euphoria. It's also not great. It's like over the top, and crushes from that point can be hard as well. But some constant, like old philosophers used to say. Thank you for being in the workshop. Do you have any questions? If not,
No.
one more time, thanks for being here. I hope it
That was helpful. Thank you.
amazing. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you on the next one.